So it's not limited to ward councillors then?
But we're now live on YouTube, members.
Thank you.
I don't think so.
Are we happy to let everybody in now? We've got Philip Carter, Mr. Erdogan and Councillor Monk.
Christophis, is anybody able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Chris.
Holly, if you could let the visitors in, please. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. This meeting will be streamed live to the internet. Please could all members ensure their microphone is set to mute unless they are speaking. Also ensure any other devices nearby are switched to silent mode. Members should use the raise hand button if they wish to speak and will be asked to speak by the chairman. If any member loses connection during this meeting, then the meeting will be paused for a period of up to 3 minutes in order to give the relevant member the opportunity to rejoin. And we come to the first agenda item, election of the chairman for the meeting. Do I have a...
May I propose Councillor Hollingsby?
And a seconder for that?
Sorry, I was on mute. I'll second that, Kate, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Hollingsby, if you're happy, you're chair for the meeting and I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, councillors. I seem to be the person to do this when you're around. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the licensing subcommittee this morning. We've on the agenda. Let me just see. Go back to the agenda. Are there any apologies for absence?
No apologies this morning, Chairman.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest. Declarations of lobbying. Has anybody been lobbied on this application? No declarations of lobbying.
Well, Chairman, I have had an email from Philip Carter.
Right. Was it relevant to this application?
Yes, it was.
Right. Okay. So that needs to be recorded as lobbying. And I don't think I have, but if I have, it needs to be recorded. I don't remember seeing.
Help you there, Chairman. I sent out the Leeds Residents Association submission to all members of the Licensing and Planning Committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Philip.
I'll note that in the minutes, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay. So item 5 on the agenda is an application for a variation of a premises licence in respect of Rosemount Restaurant and Cocktail Bar, 1 Majestic Parade, Sandgate Road, Folkestone. And I don't know whether Bryony could take us through the application, please.
Yes, of course. Good morning, everybody. So the premises of Rosemount Restaurant and Cocktail Bar is at 1 Majestic Parade, Sandgate Road, Folkestone. It's held a premises licence since before 2005 when the Licensing Act was introduced. It was brought over from the Magistrates Court. It was formerly known as Hop Quang. In September 2020, Mr. Onda Erdogan applied to transfer the premises licence and the designated premises supervisor to himself and to change the name of the premises to Rosemount. A copy of the current licence can be found at Appendix 1. There are no conditions on the licence aside from the mandatory conditions. The current licence allows alcohol sales from 10 AM to midnight, Monday to Saturday, and on Sunday, 10 AM to 11 PM. No temporary events notices have been submitted for this premises in the past, and no complaints have been received by the licensing or environmental health departments. So the application to vary the premises licence was received on the 23rd of November. The application can be found at Appendix 2. The variation is to extend the hours and add seasonal timings to cater for private functions and busier periods, adding off sales to offer street dining. We received confirmation that the premises will be a restaurant and cocktail bar. It will not be a nightclub / music venue. So the variation was for opening hours to be 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to midnight on Sunday. I won't read all of the separate ones out, but those are the opening hours. You've all got the pack in front of you. Representations were received from planning, environmental health and some residents, and the applicant offered to revise his variation application based on these representations. And he also submitted some additional information regarding his plans for the restaurant, and also gave some knowledge of other restaurants in the local area to support his application. So just to highlight, I won't read all of it out because I'm sure you've all read it, but he's now suggesting opening times until sorry, I'll just scroll down. Friday and Saturday, licensable activities would cease at 1 a.m. and the premises would close at 1:30 a.m. Monday to Thursday, licensable activities would cease at midnight and the premises would close at midnight 30. And Sunday, all licensable activities to cease at 11:30 and the premises to close at midnight, and for the seasonal variations to remain. And he's given a list of other restaurants in the area that had similar opening hours. So that was the Spendos restaurant, the Radnor Arms, Conchita's Kalala, the Clifton Hotel, Rocco's Cafe and Ward's Hotel. I'm not going to read the whole of his letter. Obviously, if he wants to highlight any points, he's welcome to. And I think that is probably all that I need to cover. He has added some additional conditions that he's prepared to offer. So windows and doors to be kept closed after 10 p.m. No customers permitted to take drinks outside after 10 p.m. Customers only permitted to take drinks outside to accompany a meal and to be seated in accordance with a pavement licence. Customers will be encouraged to leave quietly and not to congregate outside. Information available to customers advising taxis, buses and train services. Customers not to be served at the bar, table service only applies. So he felt that the revised timings would bring the operating times in line with other restaurants in the area. And the additional measures he proposes take into consideration best practice as identified in the licensing policy. So I think that's probably the outline of the application. So as I mentioned, we received representations from environmental health and planning. We have got environmental health with us today. I don't have the planning officer wasn't able to attend, so I can read out a statement from them if you wish, when you come to the point of discussing the representations. And I think that's probably enough from me on the report.
Thank you, Bryony. Can we first perhaps go to the applicant, Mr. Erdogan? Is that how you pronounce it? And to see if there's anything you'd like to add to the report that's been presented to us. And you're on mute, sorry. You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Is that any better?
That's better, thank you.
Hi, can you ask me the question again? I didn't hear it very well.
Sorry, I said, is there anything that you would like to add to the presentation that we've received on your application for the license changes?
Yes, I could. Thank you. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you for sparing time to discuss this matter with us today. And I would like to thank the residents of the Lees for their concern raised, first of all. I greet the operations of the Bank Bar nightclub cause residents great annoyance. We are aware of that. My understanding is that the premises was operated as a late night music venue with a drum and bass event that attracted drug mixture, the fights inside and outside of the premises, which we were all aware of that. For this premises to have caused a nuisance to the residents of the White Cliffs on the Lees shows that it was a very poorly managed premises. To the satisfaction of the residents of the local authority, we have noted that the Kalala restaurant retained its opening hours after the Bank Bar operations were permanently closed. I would like to address the concern raised by the local residents Zoe Bowden and Gavin Baker, who I assume live in the close vicinity to the restaurant. following initial concerns from the residents, I have listened and chosen to bring back the operation hours of the business. There is no intention of operating a business that will cause nuisance to the residents. During development, residents from both Sandgate Road and Castle Avenue have walked past and asked to see how the premises is going. Sorry, offering interest and praise to opening the premises. My family will look to broaden this opinion to ensure a successful, safe community business operating for many years. We will always be open to feedback from immediate residents and hope not only that they enjoy the facility we are providing, but also confident enough to engage with the staff at any time. Residents of the lease and those living near to the historic bank bar can be assured that the Rosamond will not and cannot be operated as a music venue. An accumulation of the planning permissions and the condition that I voluntarily propose to be included to the premises license will enforce that these premises will remain as a restaurant and never be operated as an independent music venue or bar. There has been considerable investment, as we are all aware, into the development and opening of the Rosamond. This is a family-operated business and investment in Folkestone. We will not be encouraging an antisocial behavior and disorder experience from the bank bar and scuba bar. Rosamond is a restaurant and will be operated similar to the premises, such as Conchitas and Aspendos, as I mentioned in my previous statement, and should be given opportunity to operate our business within the parameters granted to those premises. And we all know and remember clearly the state of the Hop Quang over the years, how vandalized it looked around the town. And I would like to address that, we had no one from the committee or the local residents who's been putting objections walked in or approached us asking our plans and looking at the project. So
Thank you, Mr. Erdogan. Is that how you pronounce it, Erdogan?
Erdogan, yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know whether my fellow councillors have got anything that they want to ask first, or whether we go to the representations.
Yeah.
Councillors? We go to representations?
I'm quite happy for you to do that, Chairman.
Yeah, I am also. Sorry, I didn't realise I was muted again.
Thank you. So can we perhaps go to environmental services? I don't know who's speaking for environmental services. You're muted. Who are?
Yes, I think I'm unmuted.
You are. Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. Right, it's Chris Christophis, Environmental Protection. Yeah, if I can put my bit in on behalf of the team, just say a little bit about myself. I'm relatively new to the Environmental Protection team at Folkestone. I do have a lot of experience in the area. Have a PLPQ, Professional Licensing Practitioner's qualification. I'm a full member of the Institute of Licensing. I'm a member of the Institute of Acoustics with experience in measuring noise. And I've put in thousands and thousands of hours monitoring and doing enforcement on licensed premises over many, many years. So I've dealt with many similar issues. And when I looked at this, there are a few issues that stand up. It's a premises that's in close proximity to residential property. From environmental protection, we've got to consider the residents in our input into a licensing hearing or any license application like this. And we discussed this among the team. Our main concerns are the dispersal noise. Dispersal means people leaving the venue, and potential for antisocial behaviour. Mr. Erdogan did write a letter which does address a lot of the issues. Much does depend on how the premises is managed, and the key here is that it will be run as a restaurant not a bar, because we would look at a bar differently in terms of people attending a late bar. But if this is a restaurant where alcohol is served on a sit-down basis, that does allay some of our concerns about that. But I do have a couple of suggestions. We would prefer, if possible, an earlier closing time. Midnight on Monday to Thursday is quite a late closing, and it does present a potential for antisocial behaviour. Sunday, the hours again are a little bit late. We would preferred earlier, and similarly on Friday and Saturday we would have preferred earlier. However, all of this is relative to how this premise is run, and as Mr. Erdley himself points out, the authority may wish to give him an opportunity to show that he can run this premise without antisocial behaviour and without any of the potential issues in terms of noise from people leaving and coming to the venue. There's a couple of things that I've noticed. There's no suggestion of any door security. Okay, we don't know how busy it's going to be at this time. He's going to rely on the staff to manage any potential antisocial behaviour, and he hasn't exactly explained what he's intending to do. Should he get rowdy customers, etc.? What are his intentions? Are we going to rely on the police to attend? So those are questions, all of the questions that we have, and all of what we've considered from an environmental point of view. You know, we haven't raised stringent objections on the basis that Mr. Erdogan is suggesting he is going to manage the restaurant to mitigate these issues. If it does run as the other restaurants he said, and people are coming and going, and they are going there for food, they're much less likely to be of the type of people that are going to cause antisocial behaviour. That's where we are at the moment.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Can you just reiterate the hours that you would like? Did you say? Could you just do that for me, please?
I would prefer an hour earlier, right across the board.
Right. Okay.
But I'm not going to insist on it.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Any other comments from environmental services? No. Then we go to Philip Carter, Leeds Residents Association. Philip, if you'd like to speak.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I was just listening to Chris Christophos. I'm sorry if I've got his name wrong, but Chris's submission there, but that is not the submission that was put in by his department, which basically said environmental health objects to the proposed variation of the licence on the grounds of failing the licensing objectives of preventing public nuisance. I think that says it all. First of all, could I thank you for allowing us to address this committee, Chairman? Situation regarding licensing is much better these days since a meeting with David Monk held on the 1st of June 2017, when a delegation of residents approached him about concerns that we were not being kept in the loop about applications. We discovered that the town council was not notified of objections sorry, applications. They now are. Ward councillors were not notified. They are now. And all of us residents are. So that's why you have more submissions coming forward. The procedures are quite clear. I'll just say who I am. I am Philip Carter. Yes, I live on the Lees. I'm a long-standing resident of Folkestone, and in fact ran a successful club only two doors away from Mr. Erdogan's property, the Executive Club, which I owned and ran for 27 years. So that explains, I do have a bit of knowledge about this. Other associations and people have written in, some which you have in your pack, but not all. And we're slightly concerned that our letters, submissions, are edited by the licensing department. So you don't always get everything we say and the points we raise. Our main concern across all those letters from other associations, and by the way, the Leeds Residents Associations represents buildings and blocks of flats, chairman of Residents Association, and hotels ranging from the Metropole Hotel right along the Lees to Aspin House. So we represent some 700 people. And the main issue amongst those objections or comments are the late license of this premises, if approved, would create antisocial behaviour. Now, the main points are, we are not against late night bars and clubs, but we are against late night bars and clubs in residential areas with late opening hours into the early hours of the morning. Mr. Erdingen has mentioned the Sunar, and there is a couple of other premises where they stay open till 1:30, 2 o'clock, and it causes nothing but antisocial behaviour, complaints to Jess Harman and the Community Safety Unit, etc., 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 and the police. For us, this is all about preventing late night public nuisance, preventing crime and disorder, and maintaining public safety, and preventing antisocial behaviour through late night licences. We support both your Planning Environmental Health Department and their objections to granting of any hours variation past the hours of 12 o'clock. That's in the report from the planning officer, who is Izzy Hills. We also support Mr. Way C observations that the premises are classified as a restaurant, but hours increased asked for are more reflective of a late night pub stroke club venue. This is stated in his report. We think this was Mr. Erdingen's original intention when he first asked for 3 o'clock opening, but it appears even with a 1:30 opening, these premises would be more of a drinking stroke pub club than a restaurant. Mr. Erdingen states in his letter that other nearby restaurants have 1:30 licenses, which indeed they do, but they do not use these hours and are all closed by 11:30. We can find no restaurant in Folkestone that serves meals after these hours. We've asked the Clifton, they don't. We've asked the Tavernetta, they don't. The hotel opposite, the 10 to 2, doesn't. Their bar closes at 11:30. The Aspendos, they also close by 11:30. So I don't think really there is a demand for people dining out at 1 o'clock in the morning. We also support Izzy Hills of your planning department's observation that the licensing plan submitted shows a bar area in the centre of the room. And if the applicants wish to use the premises as a bar, a new planning application will be needed. That's in her report. Mr. Way C of your Environmental Protection Department also points out if variations of hours were to be granted, there will be general noise and disturbance generated by comings and goings of patrons, which will be made much worse if alcohol has been consumed, plus general noise of taxis pulling up at the premises, etc. We currently have members of the Waldorf Apartments and the 10 to 12 hotel opposite the premises under discussion, who suffer huge noise, antisocial behaviour and fights and disturbance till 3 or 4 in the mornings at weekends from Mr. Erdingen's other business of the Folkestone Kebab and Pizza House, which has a licence to sell alcohol till 3 o'clock. I don't think that would have been granted now, but it was under the old regime. And this is only 2 doors away from the Rosemont. The hotels opposite and the Clifton can tell you if they were here, they even have to refund money to guests because they are disturbed during their night. A Freedom of Information Act request to the police shows that these premises have been visited by the police 34 times in the last 5 years. 3 times just past April, this past April, to deal with antisocial behaviour and noise disturbance. The last thing they want, these restaurants and residents and us, is yet another premises open to the early hours. I've nearly come to the end, Chairman. We are amazed the police have not objected to this application, but are very pleased your officers have identified how any extensions of hours would bring more trouble and public nuisance in this highly residential area. This begs the question of the police, if having to attend the premises sometimes 3 times a month due to antisocial behaviour and noise disturbance, are they responding to the concerns and worries of the public? We strongly support the place plan, your new place plan for coming through the procedures at the council for Folkestone Town Centre's regeneration, which states and encourages an evening economy. The late night economy, so called, with 2 or 3 bars open till 3 in the morning, brings Folkestone nothing but trouble and a bad name. Lastly, we ask you to uphold our human rights, which are part of the Canterbury's licensing policy. Fundamental Human Rights Act 1998, Article 1, Protocol 1. Under said human rights acts, residents have a fundamental human right to A, quiet enjoyment of their homes and surroundings, B, sufficient sleep to ensure that their health and general well-being is not being compromised due to an imbalance between the promotion and development of business and those who live and work in the area. The Antisocial Behaviour, Crime and Policing Act 2014 supports these rights as a primary consideration to be made by authorities investigating complaints. So that is the view of the Leeds Residents Association, Chairman, and I hand back to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Philip. I'd just like to make, because obviously we have to decide this based on its own merits, and obviously there is no representation from the Clifton Hotel and other people that you mentioned, and also no representation from the police. And I don't know who can correct me if I'm wrong, but the planning has to go to the planning and doesn't have an influence on the decision of this committee. So now I think we go over to, I don't know whether either of my fellow councillors would like to make a comment there at all. You're muted, but it looks no.
Yes.
So perhaps we can go over to Councillor Monk, who's a ward councillor. Councillor Monk.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes, I am strongly against any extension of the hours whatsoever in this mainly residential area. That is the long and short of it. As a restaurant, I welcome new restaurants. So the whole area is becoming known for its food, and I am quite sure that we will be promoting that whole area very shortly as a food destination. But it doesn't need to go on beyond the hours that it already has. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Monk. Now we come to any questions from my fellow councillors. Perhaps I could just start with a couple of questions. Mr. Erdogan, you've heard the representations and you've heard the comments. I just wonder, I'd like to pick up on a couple of points that the environmental protection team have talked about in terms of the dispersal noise, the noise after leaving your restaurant, and what sort of security, if you've got anything in mind, or is that just left to your staff?
Well, I would like to thank Chris for the points that he's made. First of all, I would like to assure Chris again, this will be a restaurant, not a bar or nightclub. And I would like to say that, you know, I was expecting everyone, including Chris, to pop in and check the project and see how greatly it's coming along and how much effort and stress is being put into it to bring something nice for the Folkestone. And in regards to your question, yes, we will be closing all the doors. We'll be keeping them closed after 10 and training our staff to ensure all the customers are leaving quietly as everywhere else in Folkestone. I have a family myself. I know how disturbing it could be if you live in a semi-residential area. But also, I would like to address Chris again.
I think, sorry, if you could excuse me just a moment. I think the question really is how could you do this? How would you do this? What systems would you have in place?
We will be training our staff and asking them to ask every customer who's leaving after 10 to leave premises quietly by keeping the doors closed, not open. And as we are being licensed to keep the tables and chairs until 10 o'clock, they will be taken inside or a secure place in a restaurant area just before 10 to ensure that it doesn't create a noise. And I would like to, yeah, sorry.
And what sort of door security would you have then?
Well, I would like to answer that question and ask everyone in the committee, how would you feel if you walk in a restaurant and there's security guards or doormen waiting there? Would you feel that it's a restaurant or a nightclub? I would like to know that. And I'm clearly, I don't know how much more can I go on that. It's going to be a restaurant. So why would you have a door security on a restaurant?
I think probably the question is, or the response is, that there are very few restaurants in Folkestone, if any, that actually serve food very late at night. And therefore, what would you be doing? We're not talking perhaps early evening when you open. We're talking about the late night out, the hours late at night.
It's only Friday and Saturday.
And we're asking
extra hour we are asking, isn't it? It's not that we are asking till 3 o'clock. Okay, I understand that, our original application was until 3 o'clock. After seeing, that, the concerns and objections, so we changed our mind and applied for 1 o'clock, which is for the 1:05, all the activities ending.
Okay, thank you. And can I just ask another question in terms of, again, what the environmental services have suggested, that the hours actually be less than what you've even proposed as a second recommendation, that they close an hour earlier. Would you be willing to accept that?
No.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Can I now go to?
Can I just?
Don't go there yet.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, please.
So can I now go over to my fellow councillor? Oh, sorry, Chris. Chris, did you want to speak?
I mean, my role here is an advisory role to sort of advise you all. I just wanted to say one thing, that Saturday is a working day for quite a high percentage of the population. And as there is quite a lot of residential there, that's something we might want to consider.
Thank you. Right, can we perhaps go over to my fellow councillors to ask any questions, please? Councillor Martin, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Chairman.
Right. Yes, Councillor Collier, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. I should like to begin by saying that I thank Mr. Erdogan for his investment or continued investment, should I say, in the town. So I do appreciate that. That's very much a positive. And it's good that he's going to significantly improve these particular premises, which were becoming a little bit run down. I would observe that presumably when Mr. Erdogan agreed to acquire these premises, he must have acquired them on the basis of the current licensing hours. So if he were to succeed in getting the licensing hours extended, that would be a little bit of a bonus for him. I've listened to what's been said. I was very much involved in the closure of the bank bar. And the reason for my involvement was the fact that I did really appreciate the inconvenience, suffering, I don't think is too strong a word to use, of the residents at the time, and it was just something which wasn't bringing anything to Folkestone and was causing an enormous amount of discomfort, inconvenience, etc., to local residents. On the basis that that two of the provisions that we should consider in deciding whether or not to grant a license are the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of a public nuisance. And on the basis of those two facts alone, I should like to move that this application be refused. Thank you.
Councillor Collier, I think we need to ask the questions and then we normally go into private debate before we come with a decision.
My apologies.
Can I just seek advice on that, Brani? That is the case, is it not? Yes. Thank you, Councillor Collier. But we need to ask our questions. We need to ask our questions, and we need then to go into private to debate the issue and make our decision. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I also thought we did the debate in, as you said, and not open like this. I mean, as a lifetime resident of Folkestone, and I'm extremely fond of the nighttime economy. You know, in fact, those that people know me know I'm a night owl. But there does, and I also speak with a voice as a former licensee. And when you know, when I was running my pub, even 1 o'clock was considered late. I noticed that the applicant didn't reply to your question, Chairman, when you specifically asked him what were people expected to do after they stop eating. Well, it's obvious they expect to drink, and it's obvious that that does cause the problem. I mean, I made a point of touring the town. I'm not a twitcher or anything like that, but and it's quite true, as has been reported in the press, that I mean, with the current you know, with the current curfew at 10 o'clock, I mean, you could drive around places and you know, there would be hundreds of people thronging the street, no social distancing and all that sort of stuff. But so, you know, I'd like to ask the applicant, for example, I mean, when you go in pubs and restaurants, they normally say to you, you know, well, we take our last order for food at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. I'd like to ask him when he would take his last orders for food, because if that's going to be 10 or half past or whatever, you know, people won't be eating for the next 3 hours. So it looks to me as though it will be the drinking, and I think that will be a problem, and my sympathies do go with the local residents, as my colleagues referred to. We had so much trouble over the years with the surrounding businesses. I mean, the hospitality industry has suffered so much, but we must also consider our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Are there any more questions? I would just like to agree with both my councillors in terms of the issues that we had with regard to the bank bar, and it really is important that we, in our residential areas, that we do consider our residents, and we consider what kind of activity might happen late at night in an establishment that is open late, and whether food is served late or not. That is the intention, but as a number of my councillors have said, it seems unlikely that people would be eating at that time of night, certainly on a regular basis. I don't know if there's anything else that the applicant would like to add or say before we go into private session. Mr. Erdogan, is there anything you'd like to add? You're on mute. You're still on mute. You're on mute.
Yes, I would like to thank Mr. Philip for addressing few things, but I would like to also ask him that how does he like this town to improve without any great project like Rosamond?
Yeah, can I just say, with respect, The questions are really for you to answer, not for you to question
Yes,
somebody
I
else.
understand. I understand. I understand. I understand what you're saying, but we have been trying to improve Oakwank into Rosamond for nearly 4 months, and I understand that local residents have been concerned about it, but I'm also surprised that no one actually walked in and checked the project and see it is becoming a really great and modern up-class restaurant, and will be hopefully employing over 20 people, which is 20 families in Folkestone. And I really don't understand why everyone thinks this is going to be a bank bar, which we all suffered, okay, when it was a poorly run nightclub.
Seen, Philip.
And I just don't like it to be called in that way,
I think, Mr. Erdogan, that we all appreciate the effort that you're perhaps putting into this, and it seems to me, without us going, before we go into private discussion, that it might be worthwhile you running the premises as a restaurant for a period of time, and then have a look at the licensing as if it's going extremely well. That seems quite a sensible way perhaps of proceeding to me, but we need. But if there's anything else you want to add, and I think Philip Carter wanted to add something to that.
Yes. I don't think it's relevant to bring my other business into this meeting, but Mr. Philip Carter mentioned my kebab takeaway, and we had no concerns from the police. And I personally checked that with the police as well, that we had no antisocial behavior caused because of the kebab shop last year and this year, and police were never called for any of this in April, and we can check that with the local police. And although we are licensed till 3 o'clock for that premises, Friday and Saturday, but the business have been closed 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock last 2-3 years. Never been stayed open till 3 o'clock. So my business closed at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock latest on Friday and Saturday. If something happens on that street, just because we're in license till 3 o'clock, why is it comes to us?
I don't know. I don't think that probably is the case. I think
that's what I mean. I don't understand why Mr. Philip is bringing this into this new project.
If I may, just the fact that premises are licensed till whatever time, but do not use that license is actually irrelevant here, because that license could be used. So can I just go now to Philip Carter? Wanted to make a comment.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Can I state that I too support any incoming investment into this town, especially in the restaurant and leisure business, and I think that's the future of Folkestone: family-friendly leisure, hotels, cafes, etc. Now, the business of the bank bar, yes, unfortunately, that was a huge problem. And if you look at the size of this, it's over an inch thick. That was the report that went to the meeting that you chaired, or no, I think
I did. Yes, I did.
And that must have cost the local authority thousands and thousands of pounds to put that report together. Now, the issue with the police, I made a freedom of information request, and those are the figures they supplied, and I can supply those to you. 34 times over 5 years, 22 were reported as disturbance or antisocial behaviour, and 3 visits to the premises in April of this year. Okay. The other point, Chairman, is it is not just the residents that are worried about this. I asked David Monk and Danny Brooke, Councillor Brooke, to meet us, which they did in the Clifton Hotel. And the owner of the 10 to 2 restaurant opposite these premises was there, and they all stated what I've just stated to the committee. They were having to, I think the 10 to 2 restaurant, 10 to 12 hotel, Langhorne Gardens opposite. He told David Monk, Councillor Monk, that he had to actually put people into bedrooms not overlooking the kebab house because of complaints. Also, the Clifton Hotel have had to refund money due to people, not just from Mr. Erdogan's premises, but also from the Kathmandu.
Can I say,
I'm not giving any false evidence. I'm just repeating what I've been given.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Carter. The thing is, they're not here with their representations.
That's right.
And we understand what you're saying. Okay, right, my fellow councillors, are there...
Councillor Monk heard those objections.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. My fellow councillors, are there any further questions or comments before we go into private session? No.
I don't have any, Chairman.
Right, as I understand it, Mr. Erdogan, we will go into private session now and discuss the application, and Bryony will advise you of the outcome immediately after that that decision. Okay. Thank you very much for coming along and presenting your case, and I'm sure we welcome investment. It's just that we are very concerned about the antisocial behaviour that could be caused in a residential area that time of night. But we would welcome the restaurant, I think. But we will go into private session now and discuss the issues and get advice from our licensing officers and report back to you. And thank you to the thank you.
Sorry,
to
I think Bryony's got her hand raised. I don't know if she wants to say something.
Sorry, yes, I thought I'd raised it earlier and I double checked and it wasn't raised. So I just had a couple of points just based on questions that were asked that I don't believe Mr. Erdogan answered. One of them was, what time of night would he be saying that the last food orders were going to be called for? Because that does seem relevant if, depending on what time he's going to stop serving food. I just wondered if we would get him to answer that. And also, does he intend to use the premises until 1:30 every Friday and Saturday, or is this for occasional functions? Because I haven't got that impression yet from what he said, whether it's something that he intends to do regularly or occasionally. I just thought that might help clarify a couple of questions that were raised.
Thank you, Bryony. Mr. Erdogan, are you able to answer those two questions? You're muted.
Is that better?
That's better.
Yeah, just occasional weekends. We would like to use that licensing activity. And what was the other question, please, Bryony?
About what time would you be saying last orders for food?
Yeah, same as every restaurant, you know. As you walk in a restaurant, you want to have a meal, so you need at least half an hour, 40 minutes or 1 hour before you order your meal. So like Friday and Saturday. So if you walk in, 10 o'clock or 10:30. So our licensing activity for the weekday we applied is until 12, isn't it? Yes, 12. So 11 o'clock. 11.
That would be your last orders for food.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. No further questions?
That's for the weekday, by the way, so we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Erdogan. Thank you very much for presenting your case.
You
and thank you to the officers and to our representations as well. Councillor Monk, Mr. Carter, and Environmental Services. Thank you very much. Okay. So, right, we now go into private session.